So welcome, friends, to the final installment of the 2024 Celebrating Malheur Speaker Series. Tonight's presentation is specifically a wrap-up of the year that we've had as a Friends organization. So this is our silver anniversary celebration and social time. So thank you for joining us. And your presenter this evening is me. And who am I? I'm Janelle Wicks. I'm the executive director of the Friends of Malheur National Wildlife Refuge. I've been in this role with the Friends organization since 2018. And I have, before my time with the Friends of Malheur, I have worked for the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service at Chincoteague National Wildlife Refuge as a biological technician. I have spent many years as an informal educator for various nonprofit organizations. And I've worked with the Klamath Basin National Wildlife Refuge Complex as an environmental education specialist, and also with the U.S. Forest Service out of the Rogue Siskiyou National Forest as a biological technician. So my background has really spanned between informal education, environmental education, and biological services and inventory and monitoring with federal agencies. So really, when we moved here to Harney County in 2018, and the position as executive director for the Friends of Malheur Refuge became available, applying and subsequently being offered and accepting this position just made sense to me. And personally, I have found this job very rewarding and I've enjoyed it over the years through all of its various challenges, from government shutdowns to a global pandemic, you know, in-person and virtual programming to fundraising for the various projects and programs that we're doing, has been really a lot of fun for me. And not the least of which is getting to know all of the people involved in and supporting our organization. And what I'm going to talk about tonight is a bit of a reflection on the past, what we've been up to this year, and some of our visioning and how we're processing and thinking about the future of this organization. So, what is this organization? Who are the Friends of Malheur? We are a nonprofit organization that represents or supports the Malheur National Wildlife Refuge. Malheur National Wildlife Refuge is about 187,000 acres of diverse habitat situated within the Great Basin in Harney County, Oregon, which is Eastern Oregon, sort of the northern reaches of the Great Basin. And so this is rimrock habitat, upland habitat, wet meadows, dry meadows, playas. It's hemi-marshes. It's really an interesting mosaic of habitats. The refuge itself sits on ancestral territories of the Burns Paiute, which are the federally recognized title for the Northern Paiute in this region, which historically and personally are identified as the Wadadaka Band of Northern Paiute. So that's the refuge, and that is what we exist to support and serve. And for a bit of geolocating, here we are in Eastern Oregon. It's odd to see large bodies of water this far into the stretches of the high desert, but we are very fortunate in that if you look here, these spots, Harney Lake and Malheur Lake, respectively, and a bit ironically, are not technically lakes. The Harney Lake playa and Malheur Lake hemi-marsh, so to speak, would have not historically been open water like this map indicates. I always tell people this is essentially what the footprint of possible water in these regions could be if they were flush with water coming through from snowpack. And these are closed basin systems, so the water feeding into Malheur Lake, yes, some comes from the Silvies, but primarily we're getting water through the Donner and Blitzen River, which the acquisition of the Blitzen Valley gave the refuge water coming straight from Steens Mountain in the south up to the Malheur Lake. So this is the stretches of the refuge boundary. It's a bit of an odd shape, but that's because portions of the refuge were acquired at different times for different reasons. And the history of that can be found on our website and the refuge's website as well. So that's where we are, and that's what we're dealing with here as far as the site with which we protect and promote. So the Friends of Malheur National Wildlife Refuge are committed to promoting and conserving really the appreciation of Malheur National Wildlife Refuge's resources, both cultural and natural. We do that through education, advocacy, and on-the-ground stewardship. And I always say to people that if we're really doing our work effectively and productively, there aren't a lot of lines between what stewardship and advocacy and outreach is. In my mind, these things should be flowing into each other if they're being done correctly. So that is our mission. As an organization, our commitment to DEI is that our public lands really belong to everyone. The Friends of Malheur support appropriate access to the refuge for all people, regardless of age, race, gender, sexual orientation, ethnicity, or cultural background. We're hopeful that our activities now and going forward are looking through this DEI lens to try and create a more welcoming and inclusive environment and access at Malheur Refuge. So our values as an organization, we identified these values through a strategic process, interviewing stakeholders and through workshopping with our board of directors. And we really boiled down the work that we do and how we feel about that work into these core values. And that includes partnership and community, knowledge and learning, volunteerism and engagement, and equity and accessibility. A bit of background. So the Friends of Malheur National Wildlife Refuge were established in 1999, which means that we turned 25 this year. And in 1999, we were originally established and named as the Malheur Wildlife Associates. And the organization, the key players that identified and established this organization back in 1999 were trying to grasp a name for the nonprofit that would feel welcoming and not exclusive to various stakeholders within Harney County and beyond, into the far reaches of people and communities that access and appreciate the refuge. So this idea of being an associate of rather than an advocate or a steward, which felt a little bit more maybe exclusionary if that wasn't your sole purpose or intent or interest, really made the organization more open. So for a while, that stuck. In 2012, the organization decided to formally change the name to Friends of Malheur National Wildlife Refuge, in part because there was a national trend to do so. And it really established the organization here in alignment with this network of friends groups that was being developed nationally for other refuges and fish hatcheries within the Fish and Wildlife Service refuge system. So then we have this little blip in our timeline in 2016. Most people are familiar with the armed occupation of Malheur National Wildlife Refuge and the implications of that. And it did really impact the refuge, but I always tend to say that as far as the long-reaching repercussions of that event, I think and I feel that what we're seeing now as an organization all these years later is nothing but an opportunity to promote and educate and communicate about what a national wildlife refuge and what other various public lands are, what their missions are, and how we can serve them and support them. So, we as an organization have seen nothing but growth over the years and continue to see that today. And I really think it's a testament to the refuge staff and the Friends organization for consistently and persistently moving forward in service to the refuge system's mission and in support of what Malheur National Wildlife Refuge needs on the ground. So, what have we been doing for 25 years? When I started this job 6 years ago, we were heading into our 20th anniversary in short order. And I didn't have a lot of time to learn about what the organization had been up to, what its kind of done over the years. There just also hadn't been a lot of record keeping. And what I've been able to glean in these years since is all these little things that kind of just happened quietly over the years. And maybe they continued to happen, or maybe they happened for a couple years, or it was a one-time project and it was over. But the organization didn't put out regular communications. It didn't keep a lot of files on these early activities. And so it's been really interesting kind of pulling this together. And what I've collected here are just some of sort of the top headline items that the organization has done. One of the very first things that I learned about was from two current sitting board members that were actually founding members back in 1999. That's Gary Ivey and Alice Elshoff, who were very proud of the very first grant that the organization received. And the intention and the outcome of that grant was to plant a clone bed for riparian vegetation. And they did that so that they could have a constant source of outplanting of, say, willow into the Blitzen River riparian areas for habitat restoration. And that clone bed actually still exists in its own 25-year-old form today down at the South End residence that the substation manager lives at in French Glen. For many, many, many years, the Friends maintained a highway cleanup program. They were heavily involved in the Narrows Wayside construction, which involved various partners, including ODOT, of course. They worked together with partners at the Agricultural Resource Station to put up a wayside for interpretive signs, and have taken over the stewardship of the Blitzen Valley Auto Tour route, which, beyond just keeping the signs up and clean, meant putting together the brochure, having an audio recording made. We've been providing CDs of the audio recording for the auto tour route for free for years. And in more recent years, I took that audio and put it into podcast form so that folks could download it if they no longer have CD players in their car, which is very common for folks to no longer have CD players in their car. We've been involved in hiking trail stewardships. The Friends are listed as primary partners for maintaining trails at, say, Crane Pond Overlook Trail and Marshall Pond Trail, just to name two. But we're also been very heavily involved in the Barn Springs Homestead Trail, keeping up the clearance and safety of the river trail at P Ranch and things like that as well. We've also been supporting the Artist in Residence program for several years, and starting next year, we are actually taking over coordination and management of that program, since the refuge staff member that had been doing that is transitioning into the deputy position. There's no longer a refuge staff member that can manage this program in coordinating with the local educators. So the Friends are taking that over. We're going to be partnering with the Bird Festival Planning Committee to be able to ensure that that continues to get funded annually. Speaking of, we are also partners, one of 4 partners that put on the annual Harney County Migratory Bird Festival every year, and we're really very proud of that endeavor. It's no small thing, but there's only a few of us here in the county doing it, and so we're really proud of that. We support the Refuge School field trip programs every spring, and we also do visitor welcoming and orientation, which is also taking a big jump in the coming year because, again, the staff member that was previously managing the Refuge Visitor Center will no longer be doing that and has asked the Friends to take that on in addition to our management of volunteers in the nature store. So that's kind of a high-level overview of some programs that we've been involved in for many years, and some that are changing and growing. So ultimately, what does our work look like? Well, I'm going to show you some examples of just the things that happened this year in 2024, and kind of take you along the roadmap of how I think about these programs. So for outreach in 2024, we've did many things, but just to name a few of the key items, starting in March, we were managing and supporting the volunteers and the artists for the Artist in Residence program. We support school field trips by contributing volunteers and myself or our manager Jill to do activities with the school groups when they come. We attend and help to supply the summer reading program at the Harney County Library. And we also are putting on this month, on December 13th this year, is our annual, I believe our 5th annual CBC for Kids and Families, which is also a partnership with the Harney County Library. Harney County Library is a really critical resource in our community, and it's been a wonderful partner over the years. It's a great way for our organization to essentially access youth in the community, and also they will leverage us for support for various things. For example, we helped to fund the story walk, and which is on the wayside on the side of the building, and just this year we contributed $400 towards the mural that went up on the side of the building. So when you're in Burns, please visit the library, even if it's just to sit in the wayside where all the milkweed is planted and there's these beautiful benches, and it is really a wonderful resource. So, oh, and this is a picture here on the left side is a picture of the new track trail, which we partnered with Kids in Parks, which is a national organization, and Oregon Parks Forever, in order to access funds for the installation of these special kiosks and brochures, which become a part of a national network of trails that kids and families can access and actually log in their hikes and get access to prizes. So we're really excited about that as well. Stewardship, another sort of leg to the stool. Part of what we did for stewardship this year is in part, starting in the spring, we began our stewardship weekends, and not just the weekends, but we actually this year had a one-day stewardship activity in association with the Bird Festival in an effort to attract people who are coming for the Bird Festival to consider volunteering as a way to give back to the refuge and the resources. And these stewardship weekends, they happen almost seasonally, but really the late summer and fall is when we can focus on activities because it's very pleasant time of year to be out here. Also, it's post-breeding season, which gives us access to more habitat spaces where we may need to do cleanup work. The Friends fund a wildlife technician and have been doing that for several years in order to support the biological needs of the refuge. We have been working with the Oregon Natural Desert Association to fund, at least in part, the participation of the Tribal Stewards Program, spending 1 week of their summer program at Malheur Refuge. This program has really taken an evolution in the past year because previously the partnership with ONDA was with the Northwest Youth Corps, And Northwest Youth Corps was recruiting tribal stewards participants primarily out of Chemawa Indian School, which may have been Oregon Native Indigenous youth, or they could have been from regionally. Students come from all over, from Oklahoma, from South Dakota, to attend Chemawa. This past year, the transition of Onda working with Lomakatsi Restoration Project instead of Northwest Youth Corps meant that Lomakatsi, who has a staff member that lives here in Burns, was able to utilize their relationships with local tribal leaders and recruit more Burns Paiute tribal youth and get this program to focus more locally on the ancestral territory of those Indigenous young people. So we're really pumped about the future of this program and really digging into a deeper relationship with Malheur Refuge and the Burns Paiute tribe. So we were also working on Western Ridge Muzzle relocation. If you didn't read about this in our newsletter, I really recommend that you do. It's a very cool sort of response effort to the Dunn Dam removal project. And the goal was to get these sensitive mussels out of the grounds that were going to be heavily disturbed once the dam was removed. And so it was very successful so far. And we're pretty excited to see the future of those mussels, which are being considered for endangered species listing in the coming year. So this was a huge effort, and it was really important because this section of the Blitzen River is supposedly one of the very, very few places where these mussels are thriving. So I think I'd have to revisit the information, but it was thousands and thousands of mussels that they moved with just a few people in a very short amount of time. And the Friends are now getting involved in bat conservation at the refuge. So if you didn't attend Alexa's presentation on bats in October, I recommend you get over to our YouTube channel and check that out. But one of the things that the Friends have been increasingly interested in is the preservation of the buildings at Refuge headquarters, which were constructed by the Civilian Conservation Corps and are historic and have become pretty significant bat roosts. So the bats will come in, they'll migrate in the summer, they will get into the eaves and the roofs of these buildings, they will pup in there, and then stay in the roofs of these buildings until they leave at the end of summer. So what's happening is it's a lot of pressure on the internal structure of these old buildings. And we conducted emergence surveys this year in order to get a grasp of the sort of relative abundance of bats and the diversity of species so that we could evaluate if there were going to be bat condo or bat hotel preferences based on species, and about what kind of capacity we might need to put out in order to try and attract bats away from the buildings so that we can then seek expertise, which is not me, in doing the internal construction updates to the roofs and the ceilings of the buildings to try and exclude bats so that we can preserve the buildings and also mitigate for the habitat that they need. So a lot of work happening there in the coming years. We're really excited to hear that there may be an opportunity for misnetting of bats in 2025 at Refuge headquarters. So we'll be working with Alexa Martinez, the wildlife biologist at the Refuge, on that. And then there's events. So like I mentioned, we are heavily involved in the planning for the Harney County Migratory Bird Festival. This year in 2024, it was the 11th to 14th. In the coming year, it's going to be April 10th to the 13th. And we are actively working on the schedule, assigning drivers and tour leaders and figuring out what workshops we're going to be able to offer and that sort of thing, because that's all going to go live really soon. Um, we also host a Migrate Through Malheur National Wildlife Refuge event, and this past year it was on June 1st. It's gonna be, I think, on May 31st this coming year, and that timing of that proximity to Memorial Day weekend is really to try and catch not just to attract our members and folks that want to be out at Malheur, but to kind of catch folks that maybe don't know about our organization, encourage, youth and families to come out to go across the refuge and interact with docents and volunteers that are at these birding hotspots, and learn about what's happening out on the refuge that someone might not normally see if they don't know any more, than just, oh, this is a wildlife refuge. So we really have been excited about this program. And this past year, we hosted a barbecue. I believe we'll keep doing that. Just a free lunch for everyone who wants to come out, and it was a lot of fun. This year, we hosted an In a Landscape concert. And if you're not familiar with In a Landscape, classical music in the wild, it's a really wonderful program. And Hunter Nowak, he travels the Pacific Northwest and beyond with his piano and just sits out in nature and plays classical music. And it's really, really wonderful experience. And we were very fortunate to have him come to Refuge headquarters this summer. And this picture here is of him set up right in front of Marshall Pond, and it was really a great experience. The program, an event that we're really excited about that has been taking a few years to catch on, but that in 2024 we had actually about 40 participants, is our Malheur After Dark program. And this is a partnership with Bird Alliance of Oregon. And the goal is to really celebrate our dark skies and to educate people about nocturnal wildlife and the importance of these natural dark skies that we have, and how rare they are. So it's we bring Amy Bilbisi of Oregon Star Safari out to give a star program, and we go on an evening bird walk and talk about nocturnal wildlife. We had an educator from OMSI come this past year. It really was wonderful. And not to mention that it's become a bit of a tradition to have root beer floats at this program. So this past year, I think one of the reasons it was markedly successful is we'd moved it to August, a little bit later in the summer. And we moved it to Sod House Ranch because Sod House Ranch is actually open in August. And so I think we're going to continue that model for this event in the future, and I'm really excited about it. So, and then this year, our big final event this year was really to capstone our birthday, our anniversary, and coinciding with the 90th birthday of Alice Eltoff, who is one of the founding members of our organization. So we had a big birthday bash fundraising event in Bend, and it was just a lot of fun. So, and every one of these events is an opportunity to connect with people, to tell them about the refuge and its value and its purpose, and to talk about the Friends of Malheur and what we are doing and our role in supporting the refuge's mission. So what does this work look like? I mean, it looks like people. And I think, if you scan back through all of the pictures that I just showed you, I didn't show you all of the incredible photography of sandhill cranes or yellow-headed blackbirds or white-faced ibis, all of these charismatic species that we love. I showed you pictures of people with their hands, in the dirt, or their shovel in the ground, or they're wading through the river trying to find mussels. It's our technician out banding ducks. It's folks in trees helping to do conservation pruning work. It is really the people that make this work possible. And it's not just our friends members' dues and the donations that come in, although we couldn't do the work without it. but the people that come out and participate actively is really how it all gets done. So, that's what the work looks like. This picture here at the top, I just love this moment. These are volunteers who were working on the construction of the volunteer campground at Refuge headquarters, and we were having it wasn't the annular eclipse that happened the year before, but it was one of those eclipse events. And I ran to my office and I got a bunch of eclipse goggles and I passed them out to all the volunteers. I was like, you've got to see what's happening. Because it wasn't one of those dramatic eclipses. You might not have seen it or even noticed or thought about it if you didn't have the goggles and you could see. But it just stopped them in their tracks and it was a really great moment. Okay. So with that, I wanted to pinpoint in the events section of this all is that one of the big events we had this year was this speaker series. So in 2023, we thought, okay, we're going to turn 25 years old. What are the various things we're going to do as an organization to celebrate that? And it really, for me, came down to, well, it's not so much about focusing on the friends, but focusing on the refuge, because that's the purpose. That's the reason we exist. And so I thought, how can we celebrate Malheur in a way that is meaningful and educational and engaging? And this speaker series is what came out of all of that. And so, since starting in January of 2024, we've had monthly programs. We've had incredible people come and talk to us about a really diverse set of topics. And we're now going to take a little quiz on those presentations. And it is an experiment. So what you're going to get on your screen is a pop-up window of the speaker series recap. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen just for a moment. Okay. And you're going to get this speaker series recap quiz. It's 10 questions because we did miss March. Those who are in the know that we didn't have our March presentation because I got an invitation from the Public Lands Alliance to attend the Public Lands Alliance Convention and Trade Show, which was in San Francisco. So we had to put a button in the March presentation so that I could attend that. And this is month 12. So here we are. So you're going to have 10 questions. They're going to pop up one at a time. I'm going to read them to kind of gauge how much time we're giving to give these answers. And we're going to just go from there. This is an experiment. So here's hoping it works the way I intend. So question number 1. In managing Malheur's challenges, Malheur Refuge Supervisory Ecologist Travis Miller talked about the refuge's issues with several noxious or invasive species, but focused on 4 invasive plants. Which of these is not a species of concern? We've got reed canary grass, perennial pepperweed, rabbit brush, and hybrid cattail. Which is not a species of concern? Can you guys see the quiz? Thumbs up? Okay, great. Okay. Go ahead and click your answer for that question. He talked about several noxious and invasive species, but focused on 4 plants, which is not a species of concern. I'm going to go to question 2. Okay, question number 2. In February, cultural resource specialist Carla Burnside shared a prehistory and history of Malheur National Wildlife Refuge and spoke about the timeline of this landscape and the people who interacted with it. True or false? Malheur Lake was once connected to the ocean. I'm not seeing any answers populate up on my end, so I'm gonna hope everyone's clicking their answers and move on. Okay. All right, question number 3. March was rescheduled, so here is a second question from Carla's Prehistory and History of Malheur presentation. The region was dubbed Malheur in 1826 by Peter Skene Ogden of the Hudson Bay Company. Malheur is a French word, malheur, meaning what? Is it A, magnificent, B, misfortune, C, missing, or D, marvelous? What is the definition of the word malheur? Is it A, magnificent, B, misfortune, C, missing, or D, marvelous? Okay. In April, we heard from Melissa Petschauer of HDP. Unfortunately, the recording of this program was corrupted and is not posted on YouTube. Do you know what HDP stands for? Is it A, High Desert Partnership, B, High Desert People, C, Harney Does Partnership? Oh yeah, High Desert Partnership is up there twice. Good on ya. Okay. Oh, thanks, Mary. Yeah, have a good evening, Mary. Okay. In May, Carrie Goss has been committed to environmental education at Malheur Refuge for over 20 years. In 2007, she started the Artist in Residence program, connecting students to the refuge and birds through art. FOMR now manages the AIR program. About how many K through 5 students does the AIR program reach annually? Is it 400, 1,400, 700, or 1,700? Okay. June. Refuge biologist Dominic Bachman told us all about the history and management of Malheur Lake. One point of fact is that Malheur Lake is not a lake, but a reservoir, meadow, playa, or wetland. Okay. July, Bird Alliance of Oregon's Eastern Oregon biologist Teresa Bird Wicks spoke about the relationship between monitoring, management, and service to diverse stakeholders, but with an emphasis on understanding and supporting bird communities. PARs are the newest survey technique being deployed across the landscape. PAR stands for Passive Automatic Recorder, Passerine Avian Recorder, Passive Audio Recorder, or Permanent Audio Recorder. Okay. In August, in my Malheur summer, FOMR's seasonal biological technician, Emily Gooch, talked about all of the projects and events she got to participate in. True or false? The highlight of Emily's summer was banding sandhill cranes. In September, Jess Wennick, newly appointed Malheur Refuge project leader, joined us to talk about the original CCP and process heading into the next CCP. The CCP stands for what? Comprehensive Community Plan, Community Conservation Plan program, Community Conservation Plan, or Comprehensive Conservation Plan. All right, question number 10. This is the last question for October. Malheur National Wildlife Refuge biologist Alexa Martinez joined us to talk about bats. Fun fact, there are 15 species of bats native to Oregon. Of those 15, how many are known to be present at Malheur? Okay, submit your answers. Let's see how many got them all right. Does anyone need another minute? Okay, I'm gonna end the poll unless I hear. Okay, seventh person must be me. Okay, I'm gonna end the poll. All right. So let's look at the results. So the species that was not a species of concern is rabbit brush. Okay. 3 people got that right. So true, Malheur Lake was once upon a time connected to the ocean, and she cites the skeletal remains of fish being evidence of that. Okay, question 3, misfortune. Everyone got that right. Good job, everyone. You know your Malheur. Okay, 4, the correct name is High Desert Partnership. Everyone got that right. Because apparently I put it in the answers twice. Okay, 5, about 700 students are reached by the Artist in Residence program every year, which is incredible because the artists and the volunteers are going all the way from Druzy to Riley to Fields. They're hitting the homeschool students and the charter school students, and then everyone at Crane and Slater here in Burns. So it is far reaching and a program that we're really proud to be a part of. Okay, so Malheur Lake is technically not a lake. Oh, did I miss question 3? Misfortune. No. There we go. Misfortune is the correct answer. Everyone got that right. Okay, so it is technically not a lake, but a wetland. And the technical type of wetland is a hemimarsh. It's a mix of emergent and submergent vegetation. It's pretty dense, but also a mosaic, so like a dense mosaic. When Finley and Bowman came here at the turn of the century to photograph the region, I mean, they talked about not being able to see at all. But now, you can see everything. It's just wide open. And there's a few reasons for that, and not the least of which is the flooding that took place. In July, passive audio recorder. So 4 of us got that right. Good job. Okay. In August, Emily, yes, true. Banning the sandhill cranes. She said that a lot of things throughout her presentation, a lot of things were she was very enthusiastic about, but the very last thing she talked about was getting to go to Modoc National Wildlife Refuge with our biologists and assist their biological team with banding sandhill cranes, which was a highlight for her. September, Jess came and talked about the CCP, which is the Comprehensive Conservation Plan. I just learned today that the very first public meeting for the next CCP process is going to take place in January. We're going to be, as an organization, we're going to be promoting, publicizing that to try and engage as many stakeholders and individuals as possible to attend those meetings, because they're really looking to hear from people about what it is that makes Malheur special and important to them. What do they value? And it is open to the public to have buy-in in this process. So we're really hoping that folks participate. Okay, and question number 10. It is 12 species of bats out of the 15. And in fact, Alexa talked about the fact that 2 of the species that are not in this 12, but are native to Oregon, had in years past, in like the 30s and 40s, had been on lists for Malheur, but they haven't been for so long that she doesn't count them in the representation of species that are present at Malheur. So it is 12. Okay, so a show of hands, who got all of them right? 100%, 10 out of 10. Anyone? If you want to pop off mute, you can say. All right, who got 9 of them right? 9? Who got 8?
We got 8.
Josh got 8. Anyone else get 8 right?
Come on, something.
Oh, 8. Josh, you're our winner. The easiest guy for me to get something to.
That's true.
Yay!
Right.
Well, that was really great fun. And I just think that it's a testament to, like I said in the beginning, our mission is to promote the conservation and appreciation of the refuge. And that means engaging with and connecting to and learning about, because ultimately the people that are passionate about the refuge then become advocates for the refuge, stewards for the refuge, because you're also able to get out there and talk to people and tell them about why it's so special, what its purpose is, and garner more support for the refuge. That's the whole point of our organization. The stuff that we get to do on the ground, the fact that when the refuge needs new waiters for their biological staff, they can ask us for help with that. The fact that they can't afford to do necessarily some of the maintenance work on these 100-year-old stands of trees that need attention, but they can turn to us and get that support. Like, it's great that we can do that on the ground, but we can't do that without being able to share how special Malheur is with people that are in turn willing to come back and make donations and be members and support that work. So, like I said, when we're doing our job right, the mission flows into itself. Outreach and flows into advocacy, flows into stewardship, flows right back into outreach. I really believe that about our organization. And I personally feel like we're being really effective and productive in that work. So, and it's really a testament to all of you that support us in it. I'm going to share my screen again. I have been told that I am enthusiastic to the point that I get a bit chatty about these things. But I really do love talking about what we do as an organization. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about the future of our work and how we're looking at it as an organization. So we developed a few years back. We went through a bit of a strategic visioning process. We didn't develop a strategic plan to sit on the binder, but what we did was we identified those core values. We identified these strategic themes: building greater capacity, deeper broadening connections, and improving our communications. Because we really felt like there were gaps between what people knew and understood about our organization. And we really tried to figure out, okay, what are the themes around those gaps and around how we're being effective, and what can we do to support filling them? And this is what we came up with. So, I took a look at these themes and I thought, well, what are some ideas that would meet these needs? This process, we went through this process 3 years ago and almost 4 years ago, and we've been able to check some boxes since then. So many of you have been out at the store, have met Jill Bachman, who's been our nature store manager for an entire year now, and she's fantastic. And hiring and retaining that position literally doubled the Friends of Malheur's staff capacity, which really allowed for us to blow up what we're thinking and imagining that we're capable of doing, beyond just what I can do at my desk with the support of my volunteers. And then we really thought, okay, so beyond our staff, who is our capacity? It's our volunteers. So we were focused on the limiting capacity of our volunteers, which is always housing. And so one of the first things that we did was really move on the development of a campground at Refuge headquarters. So now we have RV pads with full hookups. We have access to a 2-bedroom residence at the refuge, and we also have a tent campground site for volunteers. Seasonally useful. And then, of course, developing volunteer opportunities that are diverse, above and beyond just is, I don't mean to minimize it at all because it's such a critical role, but working in the nature store is not for everyone. And so what can we do to develop our volunteer program to make sure that we are really utilizing the skills and expertise and knowledge of our volunteer base, the people that want to come out and serve the refuge? Then, of course, there's always the nonprofit work of developing your board, improving your volunteer program, data mining, and that sort of thing, so that you can support all of this work through fundraising. Deepen broader connections. This looked like events. It looked like outreach. It looked like this speaker series, which I'm really hopeful that we can transition into a long-term program, not just for this one special year, but potentially in the coming year and years ahead, maybe not monthly, but perhaps every other month or quarterly, we would have a special presentation that was virtual that anyone could attend and connect with and learn more about the refuge in the region. I'm also really excited and interested in improving and diversifying refuge access. I really believe that there is space for making marginalized communities, communities that are often they can't see the access and the accessibility or the welcoming to the refuge, and I want to change that. So it's one of our goals. Improving communications is, you can do all the best work in the world, but if you're not able to share those success stories and let people know that that's the work you're doing, they don't understand the purpose. They don't maybe understand how they can get involved and how they can participate or what they are supporting. So I really feel like communications is so valuable. I don't really say it tongue in cheek when I tell people that I think one of the most important things that we do for our membership is producing the monthly newsletter. And I really hope that people that receive the newsletter feel that way as well, because it's about connecting and staying connected with the refuge on an ongoing basis and knowing what's happening on the ground, so that you can be informed about this place that you love. We also updated, redesigned our website. We are actually, I think, like days away from launching a new online store. So these platforms that are, not just having an interpretive sign and communicating something on the ground at the refuge, but having these platforms that are accessible to everyone from wherever they are is really valuable to me. Okay. So, and I don't know how many of you, get this sense or know me very well, but I'm always looking for areas of opportunities. What can our organization be doing next? What are the skills and experiences of our volunteers or our memberships that, perhaps they want to share with us in service to the refuge? So I'm always looking at, how can we engage more interpretation and outreach and visitor resources and developing our organization as well. I keep lists and lists and lists of ideas. And so one of my big fears is that there's someone out there that has the knowledge or experience of doing something that could contribute or support the refuge, but they don't see that opportunity. And so one of our goals is really communicating out that, we want to wrap everyone else into this work that we're doing in service to the refuge. And the refuge is in need of support going forward. And ultimately, every time we look at things like this, we have to think strategically. Is it in alignment with our mission? Is it in alignment with our themes that we've developed? Is it a refuge priority? Do they want this type of support? And what kind of partnerships can we draw in to get this work accomplished? Is it grounded in our core values? Strategic alignment, is at the end of the day, it's just checking the boxes to say, yeah, this is work that we want to do, and it's work that our supporters, our members, our donors want us to be doing. So how does it all happen? Happens with our staff. It happens with our volunteers. In 2024, we had 66 volunteers over the span of the year, and that's over 2,000, that's 2,500 hours, 2,600 hours of volunteer time in 2024 alone. Our membership, we currently have 1,318 members. Those are annual dues paying members, and 532 of those members are new this year. So we are growing. And at a pace that is really exciting, because that just means that we can do more. And it's not just our member support that's growing, but it's our capacity. It's the number of volunteers. It's the staff time that Jill and I have available to do work. Our organization is really thriving right now, and it's pretty exciting. And donations, a lot of our donors are also members that contribute on top of their annual dues. So that support is just invaluable. Yeah, the work looks like people. It looks like all these volunteers here, the kids out on the refuge. It's a really exciting. And that nature store there, it's our headquarters, it's our home base, right at refuge headquarters. And we're really excited to have that space and to be able to welcome people there, and at the visitor center, which we'll be managing in the coming year. So I have one last little survey for you. And it's about collecting information for me. I'm going to share that now. And we're going to go back and launch the poll. It's just 4 questions, and they're pretty simple. So just go at your own pace, and if they're not relevant, click no or none of the above. But this is about me trying to frame, what is some of the work that I'm going to do in the coming year. Hey, great. Okay, folks. Well, that is it for tonight. And that's it for the year. It is full on end of year fundraising season. So I'm sorry about the obnoxious amount of emails that you received from me in the last several days. Um, the the beast of the job. But we are already starting to plan the 2025 outreach and events, the stewardship schedule. So please keep reading your monthly newsletters, keep connecting with us on social media. We are really very fortunate to have all of you and everyone that follows and supports our organization be so engaged. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And have a great holiday. We'll see you on the other side. All right. Good night, everyone.